Hello, everyone. Today, I'm bringing you the story of a Harvard graduate turned serial killer. Let's uncover the hidden secrets behind the elite of Wall Street. At 27, Killer Bateman attended Harvard. He had a face that charmed countless young women and a body that many envied. Bateman believed that a refined appearance and extraordinary demeanor were the best disguises. Thus, he spared no effort in grooming and fitness to perfect his elite aura. But when night falls, this man sheds his facade to reveal his hidden side. Bateman works at a financial firm and has climbed to the position of vice president thanks to his impressive resume. His main concern isn't work, but whether his female secretary is dressed attractively, which affects his mood for the day. Bateman has a fiancée named Evelyn, and though they appear harmonious in public, in reality, they are distant. Bateman is more interested in Evelyn's beautiful friend. He enjoys chatting with friends and often visits various bars. Bateman is very picky about party venues, and the usual spots his friends frequent never satisfy him. One morning, Bateman called the top local dorsha restaurant to reserve a romantic dinner for two with his fiancée. However, the restaurant was fully booked, so he reluctantly settled for a less prestigious one. That evening, Evelyn dressed up for the occasion, but despite Bateman's recommendations of expensive dishes, she showed little interest, leaving Bateman feeling humiliated. The next day at work, he finally discussed dining at high-end restaurants. Meanwhile, Paul dismissively mentioned that dorsha was already booked for Friday night, shocking everyone. It's not just about money. Without special connections, it's hard to get a reservation there. Hearing this, Bateman's face turned sour. He had planned to boast, but was upstaged by Paul, who then pulled out a new custom business card and handed it to a colleague, Jack. After Jack accepted the card, Paul left nonchalantly. To save face, Bateman took out a newly acquired card, which was of high quality and well printed. His colleagues were impressed and showed off their own cards, none of which were inferior to Bateman's. Still unsatisfied, Bateman asked to see Paul's card. Though reluctant, Jack handed over the card, and everyone was amazed. In terms of material and print, Paul's card was undoubtedly the best among them. Bateman was once again outdone, but he tried hard to suppress his murderous urges, knowing it was still daytime. After work, Bateman walked home and saw a homeless man shivering in an alley. Filled with rage, he was ready to vent on someone. Seeing the pitiful homeless man, he felt no sympathy and instead pulled a knife from his bag, stabbing the man repeatedly. Afterward, Bateman felt elated, as if all his displeasure had been transferred to the deceased. This feeling obsessed the pathological Bateman. Every nightfall, he struggled to control this impulse. Due to his high-ranking position and daily facade, those who interacted with him found it hard to associate him with a killer, allowing Bateman to remain at large. On Sunday morning, Bateman went to a beauty salon for routine care. Seeing the youthful beautician, his murderous thoughts began to stir again. He sensed that his urge to kill was spreading from night to day, making him want to kill everyone. Bateman even had such a terrifying thought. This would expose him to the police, but Bateman, addicted to killing, was on the brink of losing control, ready to explode at any moment. On Christmas Eve, Bateman attended a company party. The atmosphere was lively, and Bateman greeted everyone. When he reached his colleague Paul, he stopped. Paul, drunk, mistook Bateman for another colleague, Marcus. Bateman silently accepted this new identity and found an excuse to get Paul drunk and take him back to his apartment. Paul sat on a dust-covered sofa, chatting away, unaware of the danger. Little did he know, danger was looming. Bateman turned on the stereo as a cover. Then he retrieved a bright yellow axe from the storage room, donned a raincoat, and danced maniacally while approaching Paul from behind. At the last moment, Paul realized the danger, but it was too late. Bateman cursed and swung the axe at Paul's head, shouting, "Who told you to book a fancy hotel, you complete jerk?" Paul screamed and died instantly, his blood splattering across Bateman's face. Bateman hacked several more times before stopping. After the murder, Bateman calmed down, lit a cigarette, and immersed himself in the smoke, as if killing was just routine. The body needed to be dealt with, so Bateman stuffed it into a travel bag and dragged it out of the apartment. The doorman noticed nothing unusual, nor did the taxi driver ask any questions, as if Someone as handsome and wealthy as Bateman couldn't possibly be involved in such things. After disposing of the body, Bateman used Paul's keys to enter his apartment. Through the window, he could see all of Central Park, which left Bateman slightly awed. He couldn't believe that Paul not only booked high-end hotels and had better business cards, but also lived in such a luxurious apartment. It seemed Paul truly deserved his fate. After calming down, Bateman found a suitcase and filled it with random items to create the illusion that the owner was traveling. To be safe, he mimicked Paul's voice on a tape recorder, claiming he was going abroad for a while, hoping to deceive everyone. A few days later, Private Detective Dyson came looking for him, hired by Paul's girlfriend to investigate Paul's disappearance. Since the situation was unclear, Paul's family hadn't reported it to the police. Bateman feigned concern, asking if there were any new leads, like witnesses or fingerprints. The detective regretfully said he only found Paul's recorded message, and apart from missing clothes and a suitcase, there were no useful clues. He approached Bateman for more information. Hearing this, Bateman relaxed and easily brushed off the detective's questions. After the Paul incident, Bateman's life continued as usual. He watched TV with women's screams blaring while working out. To him, the screams were the best stimulant, greatly enhancing his workout efficiency. That night, Bateman, unable to control his desires, hired 2 sexy women claiming his name was Paul. After a night of passion, Bateman finally let them leave. During this time, he couldn't resist entering the tool room to fiddle with his array of murder weapons. Perhaps worried about the 2 women being too conspicuous, he ultimately resisted the urge to kill. One morning, Bateman was chatting with friends when Lewis, out of place, pulled out a new business card. Perhaps spurred by Paul's earlier provocation, he had also ordered high-end cards, of even better quality than Paul's. Everyone awkwardly praised him, except Bateman, who remained silent. Lewis, being of a lower class, didn't deserve such cards. Since Lewis seemed to be courting death, Bateman wouldn't hold back. He angrily followed Lewis into the bathroom and, catching him off guard, grabbed his neck. Lewis, unaware of the danger, thought Bateman was making a pass at him. But Bateman remained cold-faced, rushing to the sink to frantically wash his hands. To him, killing someone like Lewis was an insult. Lewis, confused, tried to speak up, but Bateman, unable to handle it, fled. The next morning, Detective Dyson visited again, wanting to know where Bateman was the night Paul disappeared. Bateman claimed he was on a date, but the detective countered with information suggesting otherwise. Bateman, unable to hide, changed his story, saying he couldn't remember due to the time lapse. The detective then asked when he last saw Paul. Bateman pretended to recall, saying they dined together on Christmas Eve and had no further contact. The detective seemed satisfied and left after some small talk. However, on Easter, the company held a grand networking ball for new and old clients. At the ball, Bateman met a well-dressed career woman. After the ball, he took her home, and what happened next is unknown. The next day at work, Bateman occasionally played with a lock of silky hair, seemingly belonging to the woman from the night before. When his secretary entered, he hastily hid the hair, implying what happened last night. He asked the secretary if she'd like to join him for dinner. She feigned modesty, but eventually agreed. Bateman let her choose the restaurant, and she named the most expensive Dorsia. Bateman initially hesitated, but then called to make a reservation. As before, the restaurant was fully booked, and the staff politely declined. However, Bateman acted as if he didn't understand, insisting on a reservation for 2 at 9 p.m., clearly speaking for the secretary's benefit. She looked puzzled, as Bateman hadn't given his name, which wasn't standard procedure. But Bateman claimed he was a regular at Dorsia and didn't need to provide his name. The secretary smiled and left. That evening, she arrived at Bateman's apartment in a sexy dress. Bateman calmly opened the fridge and offered her ice cream, unaware that besides food, there was a frozen human head inside. The oblivious secretary sat on the sofa, enjoying her ice cream, while Bateman began selecting a suitable weapon. He liked trying different methods to keep the thrill of killing fresh. Usually, he used knives and axes, but this time, Bateman decided on a nail gun. Just as he was about to pull the trigger behind the secretary, the phone rang. Bateman had to put down the weapon. The call was a voicemail from his fiancée, Evelyn, filled with sweet nothings, making the secretary feel awkward. She thought Bateman was single, only to find out he was engaged. She timidly asked if she should leave. Bateman sighed, saying he feared losing control and hurting her. The secretary, saddened, said she knew she should go, lamenting her fate of getting involved with engaged men. Her decision unknowingly saved her life. The next day at noon, Bateman met with Detective Dyson for lunch. Dyson mentioned that Paul's schedule showed he had plans with a colleague named Marcus before disappearing. But when Dyson visited Marcus, he denied it and provided an alibi. In fact, because Bateman and Marcus looked alike, Paul mistook him. Dyson told Bateman that Paul might have gone abroad alone, as his message suggested, and could return soon. His family's suspicion of foul play was baseless. Dyson's casual tone seemed like self-talk, but was actually testing Bateman's reaction. To his disappointment, Bateman remained calm and showed no signs of guilt. That night, Bateman invited escort Christie again. Christie initially refused, recalling the intense encounter that landed her in the hospital. Bateman promised to be gentle this time and offered more cash. As an escort, Christie couldn't resist the temptation and reluctantly agreed. Joining them was another woman, Elizabeth, Bateman's so-called ex-girlfriend. Bateman enjoyed such group activities, allowing him to fully unleash his beastly nature. He first served the women expensive drinks. Then they listened to music together. Bateman spoke like a unique artist, and though the women didn't understand, they were captivated. After a moment of self-pity, they engaged in pure physical interaction. Christie feared Bateman would leave her bedridden again, so she decided to flee. Just then, Elizabeth, in a daze, began to scream. A pool of blood seeped through the white sheets. Christie sensed danger and ran, accidentally entering the closet, where she found two gutted female corpses hanging. Screaming, she stumbled into the bathroom, only to find it littered with body parts. It was a living hell. Christie's legs felt weak, slowing her escape. Bateman seized the opportunity to catch up, biting her pale leg like a wolf, eyes gleaming with malice, ready to tear her apart. Christie fought back, kicking Bateman away, then limped down the hallway, banging on doors, hoping for help. But no one responded. In desperation, she fled down the stairs, unaware that Bateman, naked, was chasing her with a roaring chainsaw. Christie, in a panic, exposed herself to Bateman's view. He seized the moment, throwing the chainsaw, which landed with a thud, leaving Christie in a pool of blood, dead on the spot. On the 4th, Bateman had lunch with his fiancée, Evelyn. She absent-mindedly chatted while using her food to sketch Christie's tragic death. Evelyn wanted to set a wedding date with Bateman, but he told her their relationship should end, as he realized he could no longer control his urge to kill. Evelyn thought Bateman was joking, but when she saw his determined eyes, she was shocked. She accused Bateman of being heartless, but he claimed he still had a shred of conscience. Evelyn cried bitterly, to an ATM, which bizarrely displayed a message instructing him to insert a stray cat into the machine. Without hesitation, Bateman picked up the cat, ignoring its struggles, and pressed it against the ATM. An elderly woman came down the hallway, saw Bateman's actions, and immediately intervened. Enraged, Bateman shot the woman dead. The gunshot attracted patrolling police, and Bateman, sensing danger, quickly fled. But this time, his luck seemed to run out. Police cars blocked his path. Bateman decided to fight back, engaging in a shootout with the officers. His marksmanship was so precise that he accidentally blew up a police car's gas tank, killing all the pursuing officers. Bateman hurriedly fled into his company building, only to be stopped by the security guard. He decided to go all out, shooting the guard and then rushing through the building. A janitor happened to pass by with a cart, and fearing being seen, Bateman returned through the revolving door and killed the innocent janitor. After killing the janitor, Bateman returned to his company. To avoid suspicion, he calmly signed in with security and successfully returned to his office. Outside, police sirens wailed, while Bateman felt a chill down his spine. The police deployed a large force, launching a full-scale manhunt for the killer. Realizing escape was impossible, Bateman called his lawyer. "Listen, I've killed many people. In my apartment, I killed several escorts. In the alley, I killed dozens of homeless people. In Central Park, I killed a female college student and dumped her body in a remote parking lot. I killed my colleague Paul and my ex-girlfriend Elizabeth. In total, I've killed many people, at least 20, maybe even 40. I recorded the entire process on video. In my craziest moment, I took out their brains and made them into a dish. I'm not sure if I can escape this time. By the time you hear this message, I might already be at the police station. I think I'm sick. Very sick. If you're free tomorrow, remember to go to Harry's bar. If I'm lucky, we might meet again. After hanging up, Bateman suddenly sat on the floor, waiting for the police to arrive. The next morning, Bateman returned home from the company. The police searched all night but found nothing substantial. Bateman, as usual, dressed in a neat suit and stepped out of his apartment. This time, he didn't go to the company but to the apartment Paul once rented. There, he had hidden several victims' bodies. Worried about the smell, he wore a mask. But when he opened the door, he was shocked by what he saw. Paul's apartment was spotless, with no trace of blood or bodies. The landlady was settling the final payment with the renovation company, and everything seemed perfectly normal. Bateman, puzzled, was approached by the landlady, who mistook him for a prospective tenant. Bateman tried to calm himself and asked the landlady if she had heard anything about the previous tenant, Paul. The landlady looked confused, saying she had never heard of Paul or rented to anyone with a similar name. Bateman wanted to ask more, but she subtly suggested he not stir up trouble. It seemed something unknown had indeed happened in this apartment. Bateman, dazed, arrives at a phone booth and swallows a handful of pills. She calls the office, the secretary answers, and Bateman breaks down crying. "I can't turn back now. I feel like I'm falling apart." The secretary, confused, tries to remind Bateman of an important afternoon party. Bateman feels worse, thinking, "Who cares about a party now?" In anger, she harshly scolds the secretary. Though feeling wronged, the secretary senses something different in Bateman's tone. She must have gone through something to be so hysterical. After the call, the secretary opens Bateman's drawer and finds a diary. The diary is filled with detailed accounts of Bateman's crimes. Meanwhile, Bateman leaves the phone booth and heads to Harry's bar. There, he meets a lawyer who came as expected. Bateman asks if the lawyer got his voicemail about the crimes. However, the lawyer laughs, thinking Bateman is joking, as he sees Bateman as a refined person, not a killer. Despite Bateman insisting he killed many, including Paul, the lawyer shakes his head, saying Paul's disappearance is resolved. Paul went abroad and wasn't missing, as the lawyer recently met him in London. Bateman is utterly confused, wondering why the police haven't arrested him for all the murders. Paul was supposedly dissolved in acid and flushed away, so how could he be alive abroad? And what about the hidden bodies in the apartment? Why did they vanish? The whole world starts to feel unreal. Even Bateman begins to doubt if he ever killed anyone. Maybe it was all just a figment of his imagination. Or perhaps he only killed a few. But regardless, Bateman believes he's sick, very sick. If he's not, then the world is. After the conversation with the lawyer, Bateman joins his colleagues. He seems manic, as if seeing through everything, with people's facades and disguises disappearing, leaving only their worried faces. The story ends with Bateman's deeply meaningful inner monologue. There are no barriers to overcome. Our commonality is an uncontrollable, mad, vicious side. The harm I've caused and my cold indifference to it have been surpassed by me. My pain is enduring and profound. I don't wish for everyone to have a better world. I want to impose my pain on others. I hope no one can escape. But even admitting all this, my heart finds no relief. I still evade the punishment I deserve. I have no deeper understanding of myself. There's nothing new in my story. This confession is meaningless. The camera finally focuses on Bateman's cooling thumbs. The story ends here. The film American Psycho was directed by Harron in December 2020. At the film's end, Bateman's inner monologue outlines the spirit of 1980s America. In a consumerist society, individuals get lost in the flood of desires, leading to absurd and crazy paths. Bateman, like a mirror, gazes at the world from the abyss. In the story's intricate details, every time he raises his weapon, every final smile reflects his inner conflict. Beneath the seemingly prosperous facade of high society lies a deep interrogation of human nature. When surrounded by material desires, how much truth can remain in one's heart? Bateman seems like a madman, exposing his crimes openly, dissecting every detail, breaking all shackles. Only when reality stings the nerves does one become aware. Perhaps everyone harbors a devil within, hiding an unproven wasteland. Bateman's story, with its unique perspective, tears open the facade of a prosperous reality, touching on spiritual dilemmas. True success isn't defined by hotel ratings or business card status. In fact, inner self-fulfillment and realizing self-worth are the true sources of happiness. So, what are your thoughts on such a deeply meaningful psychological thriller? Feel free to leave a comment below. All right, that's the end of this video. See you next time.